Hello and welcome to Off Script. I'm Bruce Johnson. You ready for this? President Donald Trump said he'd force a government shutdown himself if the Congress doesn't fix an immigration system that doesn't allow the government to deport criminal gang members.
Frankly, I'll go a step further. If we don't change the legislation, if we don't get rid of these loopholes where killers are allowed to come into our country and continue to kill gang members, and we're just talking about MS-13, there are many gang members that we don't even mention. If we don't change it, let's have a shutdown. We'll do a shutdown, and it's worth it for our country. I'd love to see a shutdown if we don't get this stuff taken care of.
This is so important because his comments come just 4 days before Congress faces yet another deadline to pass a spending bill or shut down the government. Virginia's Republican Congresswoman Barbara Comstock told the president that's a bad idea.
We don't need a government shutdown on this. We really do. I think both sides have learned that a government shutdown was bad. It wasn't good for them. And we do have bipartisan support on these things. I think we need.
Now, this will come as no surprise. The president's comments didn't sit well with some Democrats.
Speaks for itself. We had one Trump shutdown. Nobody wants another, maybe except him.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine tweeted, "Why is President Trump constantly rooting for a government shutdown? Look, if you don't want to work, just take some extra executive time. Don't threaten the economy or thousands of federal workers, okay?" Could it happen? Another shutdown? Well, Washington Post senior political reporter Aaron Blake, he talked to me about what this could mean as the Congress tries to hammer out yet another spending deal. Aaron, what are people saying? Is the president serious about possibly shutting the government down if he doesn't get his way?
Well, it sounds like he might be. We haven't gotten a great deal of clarification from the White House. During today's briefing, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders did somewhat soften the president's remarks and said that he wasn't looking for a government shutdown, but that if the Democrats weren't going to give him what he wants, he was willing to fight for it. I think the big question here is whether the president is prepared to veto a deal that doesn't include his border security. That would certainly be news to Republicans, though, given they've been working on a deal with congressional Democrats that doesn't include any of this stuff, and we're just more than 48 hours away from the deadline for all this to be decided.
So at this point, we just don't know. Once again, it seems like the president on his own is throwing a wrench into what might be a positive story, a possible positive development here, right?
Yeah, last time it was the president shifting around a number of times in the last couple of weeks as far as what he wanted to see from an immigration deal before the government shutdown. The shifting asks that he was making from Congress really contributed to the fact that they couldn't come up with a deal by the time the deadline expired. And now we have another situation where we're just 2 days away from it. The president seems to be adjusting the goalposts at least a little bit, and congressional Republican leaders are left to decide whether they need to adjust their course or whether this is the president just kind of spouting off in a White House meeting. Certainly not the exact thing that Republican leaders were looking for at this particular juncture.
Okay, Aaron, thanks a lot for this, man.
Thank you.
We'll see. Remember the promise that Kentucky Senator and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell made to Democrats to end the last shutdown? Well, today McConnell made good on his word to have a floor debate on immigration.
I'd like to see us get a result here. The administration has a proposal. I think the president was very generous, given his history with this particular issue, to come out for a path to citizenship for 1.8 million Dreamers. I'm honestly shocked that the other side didn't say, sign me up. I think that indicates he'd like to get an outcome. And we just don't.
Some controversial comments from White House Chief of Staff John Kelly. He suggested today that some undocumented immigrants were too lazy to sign up for the DACA program.
There are 690,000 official DACA registrants, and the president sent over what amounts to be 2.5 times that number, to 1.8 million. The difference between 690 and 1.8 million were the people that some would say were too afraid to sign up, others would say were too lazy to get off their asses, but they didn't sign up.
The Trump administration proposed a pathway to citizenship. You've heard it mentioned a couple of times here tonight for 1.8 million undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children. That proposal was in return for a $25 billion investment in border security. President